A lack of information around addiction and mental health issues has led to a lot of confusion. Heroes in Recovery is here to set the record straight and break the stigma through the power of storytelling and by celebrating the heroic efforts of those who walk this road of recovery every day. Our movement is built on the personal journeys of survivors, shining a spotlight on the disease of addiction and creating a global community of support. Go to heroesinrecovery.com to share your story, read hundreds of others, or join us for a 6K race. Together, we can break the stigma.
That Sober Guy podcast contains adult content, merciless truth, and emotional nudity. Listener discretion is advised.
Yo, what's up? Welcome to Sober Guy Radio. Thanks to Humans for bringing us in, and thanks to you for supporting the show. We're live out in Nashville at the Innovations in Behavioral Healthcare Conference, brought to you by Foundations Recovery Network. Much love to them for bringing Sober Guy Radio out to Nashville. We're having a great time. If you're tuning in for the first time, I am Shane Raymer. I'm in long-term recovery, and I'm also honored and grateful to serve the recovery community through the Sober Guy platform. So thanks again for being here and tuning in today. I just want to say something real quick, and then we'll get started today. If you're out there and you're listening and you or someone you love is looking for a life free from addiction, I promise you can have one. All you got to do is reach out and ask for help. And you can do that at www.thatsoberguy.com, or you can go to foundationsrecoverynetwork.com and you can get more information there. Our guest today is Todd Stumbo, and Todd is the CEO of Blue Ridge Mountain Recovery. Todd has worked in the field of addiction treatment for over 10 years, and prior to joining the Blue Ridge Mountain team, Todd held a management position at another long-term residential facility in the greater Atlanta area. He's a certified addiction counselor, certified anger management specialist, and relapse prevention specialist. Todd also brings personal recovery experience to the clinical leadership, which is such a huge component, I feel like, in this industry and in the recovery community itself. And also on top of that, he's an avid sportsman, loves to hunt, and we're going to get into a little bit about him right now. So Todd, thanks for joining us today, man. How are you?
Good, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, it's awesome. So we got to chat a little bit before we got going, and I'm always excited to hear when I meet folks that are working in this industry that have a personal journey of recovery themselves. And I was hoping that we could start with that, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then maybe share a little bit of your recovery story.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm originally from Eastern Kentucky. Came from a great family and whatnot, and a lot of times people will want to blame families for what's happened to them. I had no excuse. I just began using at a pretty young age, and it just kind of spiraled from there. And I went to the jails institutions piece for a while, Thank God I didn't experience the death, but I was forced into treatment down here in 2004. I had experienced drug-induced psychosis. I was in pretty rough shape, coming off methadone and cocaine, and got forced into treatment. And the first myth that I want to let people know and hopefully they hear is that you don't have to want to be sober to get sober. I didn't want it. I didn't want it for the first 6 months I was in treatment. And I always use this term, you hear the saying, you can lead a horse to water, you can't make him drink. I get that, but you can lead a man to a well and make him thirsty. And I was that guy that got led to the well, and I got thirsty over a long period of time, man, and I agreed to come down to Atlanta to a treatment program and stay for 90 days, and it's been 13 years. So
congratulations, man.
It's a pretty humbling and a blessing that my parents could reach out and find some help for me, for sure.
Yeah. I like that you're talking about you came from a good family, because a lot of us in recovery, like for me personally, my parents, they had a lot of love, but it was a pretty dysfunctional family. And we hear that quite often. And I feel like that's more the case often than not than someone who comes from a good family and starts. So was there anything in particular for you that, that you think or that you found now after 13 years, you can kind of look back and kind of see why you went down that path, even though coming from a good, healthy family life?
Well, at working with other people, and because I hear it a lot about the dysfunction of the family and the clients we work with, sometimes we'll even blame it on that. And what I line up with is the emotional side of it and what they claim they felt, this emptiness that they didn't connect. Almost like they were a slave to their own selves, if that makes sense. Yeah. And what I've realized coming from a family where it wasn't that dysfunctional, I mean, it's pretty healthy, is that it doesn't have – addiction has nothing to do with our childhood experience. That can fuel it and put fire on it, but that's not the cause. Yeah. And that proved, just me and you sitting here talking that come from two different families, that it proves that's not the case. So, I'd line up with the feelings of emptiness, like I never fit in anywhere. Something was off, and I never could put my finger on it, and I always tried to fill it with something that was greater than me, if that made sense. Yeah.
No, it makes total sense, and I think when we're trying to use, like alcohol, drugs, it's a tool, and when we're trying to use something that's unhealthy like that to fill that void, it's the ultimate tool for self-destruction. At least,
it was a solution for sure. I mean, I knew how to get rid of the way I felt in a heartbeat, and it became that solution for me, and I knew no other way. Yeah.
So you've had 13 years. What is your when you work in the industry? I feel like it's easy to get caught in doing the work. Mm-hmm. So how do you kind of separate the work that you do and then your own personal recovery program?
Well, early on it was hard. I've slipped into that world of using my work to fuel my recovery, and it's a lesson I think we have to learn, because it's no different than when I was using. People would tell me, hey, this is going to end badly, and I had to find out for myself. Yeah. So, what I started to realize was that there's a difference in what I'm passionate about and what I do on a daily basis to help others while I'm at work, and then my relationship with God. Because my recovery in itself, I think that's all God-centered, and it's a relationship that I'm building with a power greater than me at all times. My work is very different in a sense. I do that out of passion and inspiration. It's what I love to do. I feel driven to do it. But my personal recovery, it has to center on this relationship with God, and how am I strengthening that on a daily basis? How do I go to Him and ask for guidance, help, direction, whatever it is? Just
God doing for me, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you don't mind sharing, what are some of the personal things that, like for someone out there listening who might be asking, well, I wonder what Todd, what are some of the tips, some of the things that he does on a normal day to help with your recovery program? Can you share a couple of those?
Yeah, I mean, I think starting off the day, I always tell clients I work with, the first thing I have to do is make my bed. The reality of it is, I do a whole lecture on, if you want to change the world, you got to start by making your bed. If I can't complete that simple task, I'm going to have problems the rest of the day. Yeah. I do a form of meditation I call two-way prayer. That I picked up from a book I read by Wally P. So it's a pretty powerful thing that they used back in the day in the Oxford group that started in AA, and it's really our 10th step is what it is. Got it. So it's a form of meditation where you take all your thoughts and put them on paper, and you see what are God thoughts versus self thoughts.
So you're actually writing during the meditation? Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, because a lot of people, I talked in my lecture yesterday about, they would tell me early on in recovery, go quiet your mind somewhere. Well, that's what
I've always heard, and I can't. It's hard for me to do that.
It's not going to happen. My mind's like, So what I tell people is, don't quiet your mind. You actually use that for your benefit. Yeah. And you write, I don't care how absurd they are, how vulgar, mean, whatever. You write every thought you possibly can that comes to your head in, say, a 5-minute period down, and then you go back and you can kind of check it. Was it honest? Was it pure? Things like that. Yeah. And if it was, that's a God thought. So, for example, I may have a thought, I'm divorced, and I may say, God, I swear I'm frustrated with my ex-wife. And then the immediate thought after that may be, why, she's sick just like you are. And it's like, boom, God just hits you in the face with this, hey, that was for me, not you.
That's such a good point, too, because I know in my own journey and in my wife's journey as well with both of our faith, there's definitely, I feel like God has been speaking to me forever, but I never was able to recognize it for a long time, and that's still a journey, and I'm working on too. But this is a tool basically to help you do that, to open that gate up, because it's there. It's up to us though, as personal people, to open up to that and to let it in, I guess, right?
Yeah. And you can Google it, and it comes up. And what you do after you do your thought record is you share it with your sponsor or somebody that's doing it too. But it's a pretty powerful thing to do. Check it out. Two-way prayer and meditation. It's pretty cool. Two-way
prayer and meditation. Yeah. Check it out. So one of the things I noticed in the bio too is that you're a specialist in anger management.
Yep.
From a man perspective, a lot of us dudes out there, we can get pissed off about things. Yep. We can let things, I know for me, things can eat at me sometimes, and I'll tend to fester on them if they don't go my way. What's your experience with anger management? Is it something that you've experienced on a personal level and then also professional, or what's your take on that?
So the way I found out, people would always tell me I had anger issues. The way I found out, I was 2.5 years sober and almost got killed off Ronald Reagan Boulevard in Atlanta. A guy was tailgating me, and I bailed out of the car on him and faced a gun. So I literally got back in the truck and had this epiphany of like, I just almost died, and I wasn't even doing drugs. Like, wow. How does that happen? So,
and you were sober for 2 years at that point.
I went to an anger management class, and what I realized, man, is I don't have an anger problem. I have a fear problem. So for me, fear drives anger. It comes out as anger because I can, as a man, look at you and say, hey, I'm afraid of this, and it's making me feel this, So what I started to realize is anytime I feel angry, the question I ask myself, what is it I'm afraid of? Am I afraid this guy or girl, whatever, is going to step on my ego, make me look bad, getting one over on me? So I don't have an anger problem. I have a fear problem that drives anger. So I had to go even deeper and be honest with myself and other people. And, man, even by my appearance, people will say, well, you don't look like you're afraid of that. I'm terrified most of the day. I'm constantly thinking of, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? And it all goes back to that relationship with God and that faith of, hey, I've got all this fear. What do I do with it? I can't let it come out as anger. I gotta turn to God with faith and say, hey, man, you're going to take care of me. You're going to take care of my kids. You're going to take care of my job. All that kind of. You haven't brought me this far only to come this far. You know what I mean?
Man, no, it's so huge, man. I'm so glad you pointed that out, because it is a fear-based thing. But how hard is it as men, right? Especially in the society we live in today. We want to be, we want to be strong. We want, just like you said, for our kids, our wives, our families, just as a man in general. And there's, I'm absolutely all for that. And at the same time, how do we emotionally connect and be honest with ourselves and say, hey, I'm okay with being scared of something. I'm okay with not knowing how to do something, but let me get after it and learn how to do it. I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? And I think once I figured out that it's okay to, it's called embracing the suck. I think I heard once, just embrace that shit and let it come in, and I'll figure it out. I'm okay with that. How do you feel like when you have other men come in, how do you kind of relate that to them? Because we're taught to just not cry, not show emotion, just be hard, put your head down, work hard, get that shit done, and don't bitch about it.
And I look at them and say, because that way's worked well for you so far, right? It's brought you, right? You're sitting in front of me, in a treatment program. Yeah. So I look back and I literally have to, because I still want to go back to those modes. Yeah. And then I have to ask myself, I grew up in that environment where it was, in Eastern Kentucky, and you just had to suck it up and get things done. And do I want my kids, my girls, to grow up with a father that was emotionally disconnected? And when I go down that road, I don't ever want that to happen.
Yeah.
Because though my dad deeply loved me, the one thing I can tell you was that I felt totally emotionally disconnected, and there's no way to get that back.
Yeah.
So when I look at it, for myself, I simply say when I get angry or I'm afraid, the reason I'm willing to sit in a group of men and talk about that fear is because it helps me in my relationships with my daughters, my significant others, and things like that. Because if I allow ego to run my life, life, it will destroy me once again. I've already tried
Absolutely.
it, you know.
So you have 2 daughters?
I do, yeah.
How do you feel recovery has helped you be a better father, man?
It keeps you humble and patient. Yeah. There's, I've got a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old, so it's the beauty of it, man, is I see God all over them. You know, it's awesome. It's one of the most humbling things to have your little self. You know, you come through the door when I shouldn't even be alive, you know, and here I got these 2 little monsters that love me to death, adore me.
Yeah, Superman.
When 13 years ago, my own shadow wouldn't hang out with me.
That's crazy, man.
So it's the most humbling experience I've had, to have these 2 little human beings look at me like I'm just the most important thing in the world. So
that's awesome, man. Congrats on that, man. That's real cool. Yeah, that's funny because we have a 7-year-old, a 3-year-old too, but we have a boy and a girl. And, nothing better than being a dad. But, man, patience, dude, the patience gets tested. That is for sure. I'm learning, though. That's a good thing. So tell us a little bit about Blue Ridge Mountain Recovery, man. What's going on over there, and what kind of treatment facility is it, and how's it helping others get sober and stay sober?
So what we are, just from an operational standpoint, it's a 35-day minimum primary care facility. We're 18,000 square foot mansion on 40 acres of property. Wow. That kind of deal. What we have done, though, my big thing is I'm not so concerned about the treatment we do as much as I am how we treat people. My number one thing, no matter what, is safety for the clients, but the number 2 thing is customer service and courtesy. I was in treatment for 16 months, and I can sit there and tell you I don't hardly remember any of the groups. Yeah. What I remember is how those people treated me as a human being. So our number one goal is when you walk through our doors, we want you to feel like you're accepted, that you belong there. And my end goal is to start the fire inside of you that got started in me and inspire you to change your life. Yeah. I'd like to sit here and say that we do different treatment modalities than anybody else, but everybody does the same stuff. They teach the same stuff. What I will tell you at Blue Ridge, you'll experience different. You will meet a bunch of people that care more about you than you might care about yourself. And that's what we hinge our program on, is the experience you'll have when you come in through that door, how much we try to love on you when you don't even love yourself. Yeah, and so it sounds like there's really that personal connection there between I'm assuming the folks that are actually there for treatment, and then of course the staff and everybody who's involved in the center. Yeah, it's all about culture. It's one of those things, and again, we're big on the spiritual experience and helping guide people to their God, if you will. Guy out of SCRC kind of gave me that little quote, and I loved it, because it's not everybody's got the same God, but our whole goal is to guide you to one that'll give you an experience that ultimately transforms who you are. I don't have any desire to change people. I want to transform them. The change piece is easy. I want people to walk out of Blue Ridge and never look back and say, man, that place absolutely transformed me, and now I got to keep going forward. Yeah, that's phenomenal. Well, if you're in the Georgia area and you wanted to look into more about Blue Ridge Mountain, or did I say that right? Blue Ridge Mountain. Yeah, Blue Ridge Mountain. Center, I don't know why I keep getting that backwards, but it's 1-877-311-4018, and you could reach out and you can talk to a counselor if you're interested. And Todd, if anyone else wanted to find more information or reach out to you or someone on your staff, where could they do that? They can also call 678-454-6440, 678-454-6440, or go on to the internet, BlueRidgeMountainRecovery.com, and just check us out. Cool. Todd, hey, thanks so much for sharing your story and talking a little bit with us today, man. Greatly appreciate it, my friend. Yeah, thank you for having me. Thanks for tuning in today. We're live in Nashville at Innovations in Behavioral Healthcare. Sober Guy Radio coming to you. Much love, and thanks to Foundations Recovery Network. Peace, love, respect. Keep your blood clean.